Hi, it's Matt from Krank Engineering, and I'm back with another video in the hand tools series. Today we're going to talk about hammers and mallets, so let's get straight into it. So first and foremost, probably the most common type of hammer you'll find in the workshop will be a ball peen hammer, something similar to this. Let's have a look at some of the features of the hammer. Let's just start with the handle first. The shape of it, it's got some sort of a taper or a Coke bottle sort of shape, and that's really to get your hand comfortable at one end. So normally you'll grip it down the end, around about here. We wouldn't be gripping it up here. You move your hand right down to the end. So that's the shape of the grip's there to help you get a good grip of the hammer. At the business end, ball and peen, that's the style of the head. So there's a ball end and a peening end. And this one's obviously all steel and wooden handle, so there's wedges in here to hold the handle into the head. So one of the first things you check with a hammer like this is the head nice and tight on here, and this is still as it came from the manufacturer. I have changed a couple of handles before in my time, and I've never been really successful in getting them really tight. So there's a couple of steel wedges in here that actually a wooden wedge and two steel wedges in here that lock the handle onto, or lock the head onto the handle. So using a hammer like this, small blows, you're just going to move your wrist and move the hammer a little bit, and for heavy blows you're going to move your entire arm. So you're going to be moving from the elbow and swinging the hammer down onto the work, and the objective is going to be to get the hammer to strike the work at 90 degrees in that way and 90 degrees that way. So that's the objective when you're striking with the hammer. So a hammer like this is generally used for heavy work, like bending some metal in a vise or knocking something apart. But obviously with a heavy steel head like this, and you're working in motorcycle parts, some of them are aluminium or magnesium and other light metals, you're going to do a lot of damage. So you wouldn't typically use a hammer like this to work on or disassemble or assemble motorcycle parts, and we'll get to some other hammers you might use for that in just a minute. So really this is more of a hammer for shaping and bending and heavy work because of the size, the weight and the style of the head. So that's used for normal hammering, and that's used for peening, and generally that would be used for peening rivets over, and no one really does it anymore. In fact, I've never done it either, so I've never even used that end of the hammer, but that's what gets 90% of the work. These come in different weights as well. Normally they're stamped on the head somewhere. This one's 24 ounces, whatever that is in metric. But you can get them in 16 or 20 or whatever it might be. This one feels pretty good in the hand, so that's the one. I've got a couple of smaller ones too, but this one gets 99% of the use. Right, so that's for heavy work, and you might be using a hammer like this if you're striking either a chisel or a punch of some sort. And if you're going to do that, you really need to wear your safety glasses, not just sunglasses or anything like that, but proper safety glasses. That'll protect you if you are striking a metal object and some metal does come off, which is known to happen. It heads towards your face, you're not going to lose an eye. And I had an uncle who lost an eye from a bit of metal getting in there, so yeah, it does happen. Alright, so that sort of hammer, heavy work, bending metal, punches and chisels, things like that. Now, for your motorcycle work, most of the time you need a hammer is when you're either assembling or disassembling something. And in that case, you're probably looking at hammers similar to these. So these particular ones, this particular one here is a bit heavier, but it's got a steel handle and it's got plastic inserts in the head, and these just screw out. So they are replaceable if you've got the right brand where you can find a replacement for it. So this is a pretty good one, pretty good quality one, and you can buy replacement heads. So because it's plastic, it's less likely to do any damage to the soft metals on your motorcycle. So this one's pretty heavy. This one's a bit lighter. This is a really cheap one. This is about 12 bucks. And you can hear the rattling. It's probably got steel shot inside the head here to give it a bit more weight. So this one says 1 pound, so it's quite a light hammer, but great for motorcycle jobs. And you're really not very likely to damage any parts of your motorcycle using a plastic coated hammer similar to that. Having said that, I've always got blocks of timber around, and if I'm going to be hammering onto a soft part of the bike, I'll put a piece of timber in front of it and I'll hammer onto that, and that's disposable. Who cares if it dents the timber? You chuck it away. You don't damage your motorcycle parts is the objective. Okay, so yeah, plastic plastic ended hammers, and these inserts come in different materials too. You can get leather or copper, all sorts of things. So these plastic ones I tend to find I use the most, and this little guy here is pretty handy for motorcycle jobs. Next, this one again, it's not a very expensive one, super cheap auto, so it's pretty cheap. I think it was 12 bucks as well, or maybe 18 bucks. Nothing ridiculous. But this one's got a brass head. So again, this is used for striking metal, but the objective is dent the head of the hammer and don't dent your work by hitting it with something really hard. So this I use for fine work, you know, maybe in a vise on the milling machine, or if I really need to put metal on metal to get a good bit of motion, or move something, you know, with some force. I'll use this on some parts. I wouldn't use it on aluminium or anything really soft, but on steel I'll use it. Yeah, just a brass headed hammer, again, factory fitted handle, nice and tight. It's not going to come off, and if it does fly off while you're swinging it, you know, it's going to hurt somebody if it hits them. A couple of other ones. If you see, might see this style of hammer around. This is a panel beating hammer. This particular one is more of a stretching hammer. A couple of different ends. I don't use panel beating tools a lot, but I'm just teaching myself some of the basics, so I have bought a couple of hammers to do that sort of job. Again, wooden handle. And I think the wooden handles are typically used for vibration absorption. So they do absorb a bit of the vibration of the forces of the striking, because they can flex a little bit. So yeah, it's a panel beater's hammer. Try and keep the ends as clean as possible and polished and not dented, because if there's any dents on this, they'll transfer to the metal that I'm striking. And if you've got to get really serious and move some serious metal, then you need a mallet or a club hammer of some sort. This guy, 1.9 kilos or 4 pound. So if you really got to move something a long way, and I'm thinking, you know, tent pegs or something serious like that, you know, a hammer like this is the one for the job. I'd never use this on automotive work at all. It's a club hammer. It's there for, you know, breaking bricks or moving tent pegs or something, you know, significant like that. Okay, so that's really all there is about the basics of hammers. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the comments below the video, or send me an email, or get on the Facebook page. And thanks for watching.